Hello everyone, my name is Tom Angus, Senior Conference Producer here at Decarb Connect. I'm delighted to be a guest host of the Decarb Connect podcast today. We're actually here on site in Manchester for the Decarb Connect UK Summit. So today I'm joined by Eoin Bailey, Innovation and Circular Economy Manager at Celsa Steel. Eoin, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Good to hear it. Well, I think first of all, it'd be great for the listeners to introduce kind of yourself and Celsa Steel and what you guys are doing.
Sure. So yeah, I'm, as been said, I'm Eoin Bailey. I'm the Innovation Manager at Celsa Steel. I've brought a lot of my previous life into the job which I started nearly 7 years ago at Celsa. I used to be a designer in the automotive industry and aerospace, so I'm taking a lot of that design thinking and the focus I have on eco-design and circular economy into the role. So it's really exciting to be part of an organisation that is doing positive things and happy to be here this week and talking about how we're delivering real value to the UK economy and as part of our decarbonisation journey and strategy.
Fantastic. I know a question we usually typically like to ask at these podcasts is kind of how you arrived at this point in time where you're focused on industrial decarbonisation, both personally and professionally. I know you've kind of taken an interesting route there. Can you elaborate a little bit more about?
Well, I suppose I always had I grew up in rural Ireland and always a connection with nature. And when I became a design engineer in the automotive industry, I was always a little bit frustrated about how and what we were designing and manufacturing because I could see the impact it was having on the environment, on the planet, and ultimately the effects of our industry processes on climate change. And as a designer, you have a certain influence in designing the future, in putting positive elements into the economy as opposed to these negative elements which currently we're facing. And so many years ago, I was working for a speaker manufacturing company, and I was asked by one of our customers, which was BMW actually, to analyse the life cycle of one of their speakers, to see what kind of impacts, the true impacts that our design decisions were having, and that research really flagged up some serious concerns and contradictions of what we were saying and doing on one side, and the reality of what was happening. So since that, my career has shifted, and now I try to take on board this knowledge and start to understand how the system can come together to do a lot more positive things, and that kind of eventually has brought me to working with Celsa as a steelmaker. Ironically, when I first started with Celsa, when I was getting my induction and having my induction and walking around the scrap yard at Celsa, I picked up a piece of metal on the ground, and it was actually a product I designed 20 years before.
Wow. So
yeah, it's a bit strange to see that my career has gone full circle. And
sure.
And the impact of those design decisions are starting to bear fruit in terms of what we are doing with those materials and resources today.
Fantastic. And you highlighted there, it was that conversation that you had with a consumer that kind of highlighted kind of the changes, I suppose, you needed to make. How important do you see that kind of collaboration piece from kind of industrials themselves through to consumers? And is that something that I suppose needs to be a conversation more in the today's discussion?
Absolutely. Celsa, what I haven't done is given you a bit of information about who Celsa are. And
that'd be great.
Celsa are a steel producer that's used the electric arc furnace as the primary source of production, and the feedstock we use to make the steel is scrap. So we are taking scrap from the end of life of other industries, processing or transforming it in the arc furnace, and then rolling it into products that get utilised in the construction sector. So when I saw the elements of what Celsa does already, the four different departments effectively of scrap processing, steel melting, steel rolling, and steel fabrication, it was pretty clear to me that those four elements can be linked and offered as a service solution to the construction sector. So for me to make this idea of closed loop happen was going out. It had to be about going to the supply chain, the sector itself, and engaging with the different elements within the supply chain. And really it was about introducing the decommissioning or the demolition phase of a building to the procurement of the new building, and linking those two elements together of the supply chain, and actually for Celsa to facilitate that closed loop thinking and deliver those solutions back into a local UK economy. that offers that kind of level of supply chain resilience that we desperately need. So that's the kind of the bit where I see the real value of this collaborative approach to emphasize and promote the idea of circular economy. And in the meantime, we decarbonize the process as well.
Fantastic. No, for sure. I definitely see the collaboration being kind of the buzzword of this morning, for sure. I think that's been a key talking point. I wanted to kind of just moving forward, I know I can't speak to you without talking about circular economy, and that's a heavy part of your work and your focuses. I wanted to kind of, from the angle of what you see as the greatest challenges when trying to implement such strategy into kind of an industrial platform as such.
Yeah,
really.
well, I suppose it's pretty clear that what we've been doing as a society for the last couple of hundred years have been pretty negative on the environment. Mm-hmm. And the reason being is we're so used to delivering and doing everything within the context of a linear economy. So we take natural resources out of the ground, we do something with it, with an industrial process, we sell it, and then it comes to its end of life after use and it gets discarded. So that's the linear economic process. The only assumed value in any of that is at the point of sale. When we sell something, we sell stuff, and that generates then our GDP. But if we're only focused on selling the stuff, we don't care how we get to that point, we don't care where the stuff comes from, and we don't care what happens at the end of it. And when we decarbonize that linear process, yes, we're reducing our impact, but only incrementally, but we still have that dichotomy where we're extracting virgin materials and wasting valuable resources. So for me, it's about how we can change that and utilize the systems and processes and the materials we already have in a much more coherent and sustainable way. And ultimately, when we are producing product and materials within the foundation industries, like we are here at this event, we basically, if we can deliver circular economy solutions from that basis, then we have the opportunity then to allow or to build a platform, ultimately the foundation, that others can utilize to design better products, better buildings, better cars, better effectively the economy in a much better way.
So I suppose my question to that is, what are the biggest bottlenecks and roadblocks as such to implementing such solutions? Really,
it is that linear economy. It's that focus, that the kind of the constant focus on linear economics and the way we've always done things. And so when you're trying to challenge those norms, that culture of linear economics, it's you come up against those challenges and those issues, and ultimately they become roadblocks. But the irony is that once you start thinking of the world through the lens of a circular economy, all you see is value, all you see is opportunity, and so it's quite easy to shift and break down a lot of those barriers based upon the thinking. Actually, it's about making more money, but without the impact of the emissions or waste or any of those things that we're currently having to factor into our costings of what we deliver and sell.
I see. So it's shifting a mindset that's been so ingrained, I suppose, for decades.
And often the barriers are pretty easy to overcome just by using the right language, perhaps, or just present an opportunity where previously it may not be considered or realised.
Great, no, fantastic. I suppose just moving forward, later on today you'll be speaking on a panel on kind of market-driven decarbonisation. So just wanted to touch on that in terms of what you anticipate the key talking points being there. And I know we mentioned before recording around kind of the word around green premiums. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that and kind of where Celsa Steel stand on that point.
Yeah, well, as I said before, Celsa isn't necessarily, we're not necessarily concerned about the green premiums. I don't necessarily like the term green anyway, because it kind of has a connotation of greenwashing. I'd rather be focused on data, clear data. If you're producing steel or any product and you have an environmental product declaration, those EPD figures are your currency to operate, and ultimately your ability to go to the market with clear and concise and open information. Whereas if you're just talking about green and the assumptions of green, there's also the assumption that there's average data being included, and so I'm always a bit concerned when we start talking about green anything.
Of course.
And from a premium perspective, it's if your standard product is already low CO2, high recycled content, then why would we even consider offering anything at a premium? Because it's just what we do. So I think other foundation industries could be in a very similar position and could have the opportunity to deliver their standard product as a low carbon alternative or a low carbon product. Then I don't feel the need to start looking at premium anything really.
I suppose it comes back to that point we made at the beginning around that kind of dynamic and the collaboration and that open discussion, I suppose, with manufacturer and consumer as well, to understand kind of what you're getting there.
I think there's also a level of education that's required across the supply chain. So when we're selling to the construction sector, and although you might have people at the high level from a sustainability director perspective or at a senior level, they know what the different elements, how steel differs depending on where it's coming from. The impact of that steel process will differ depending on where the steel is originating from. But that isn't necessarily understood throughout the supply chain. So we may do a lot of work to decarbonize our process and create a very valuable EPD. But when it comes down to those procurement engineers buying the steel, they'll still go for the cheapest. And so even though ours wouldn't be a premium product, in that it's not exorbitantly more expensive than the standard product from elsewhere in the UK, in the world, such as Turkey, for example, in terms of reinforcement steel. But the carbon difference isn't really being taken into consideration, and so I think that policing of the specification from a building contractor's perspective, and just general knowledge and education is a key factor, and really incentivizing those developers and the industry more widely to take on board and utilize those products that we know in the UK are doing better things.
Amazing. No, I completely agree. And I know we would have touched on a few of these actually, I suppose, in this podcast already. But having been here, obviously you were here with us yesterday at the CBAM Focus Day, and obviously this morning as well. Just wanted to get your feeling around kind of any overall themes that you've noticed coming through from the audience, from the discussions you're having, from the panel discussions already. Is there anything that kind of, I suppose, stand out to you that you think is a common talking point among this community?
I think you touched on it earlier on. I think the discussion around collaboration, and it's not new to see collaboration coming out of discussion pieces across the event. It's something I hear at many events, but the problem is we still don't really collaborate. We still don't really develop solutions at a systems level. We tend to work in our little silos, which is obviously a major fabric of the linear economy is siloed working. So we don't necessarily have the true collaboration across industries, whether it be engaging with other industries or actually public sector engaging with the private sector effectively. And so I think one element that has come out is how valuable the public sector can be in terms of developing robust procurement policies that will allow and incentivize those developments to utilize local sourced material, low carbon materials, and building them into their strategy overall, rather than leaving the door open completely for higher carbon materials and cheaper materials coming from elsewhere in the world.
Fantastic. Well, Eoin, I won't take up any more time, but it's been fantastic to speak to you, as always.
Pleasure.
So, for you guys listening at home, I think please stay tuned with the amazing work that Celsa Steel are doing. I'm sure Eoin will be happy to answer any questions if you reached him via LinkedIn. But no, it's been great to discuss here at Decarb Connect UK. For those that were unable to join us at the meeting, please stay tuned on our website. We have a number of upcoming events, including our European event taking place in June in Amsterdam. Thank you so much.
Cheers.